Welcome to today's lecture, History of Education, of Biology Education, sorry. So we are going to start today's lecture with science education at tertiary level in Nigeria. Don't forget that we have done or explained something about science education generally, science education at primary and secondary school level. So today we want to look at science education at tertiary level in Nigeria, and actually the involvement of Nigeria, that is NSSSP, Nigerian Secondary School Secondary School Science Project, which was between 1970 and 1972 by CESAC. CESAC is a comparative education comparative education science adaptation center. Is actually the foundation of science education in Nigeria. That is, when we had NSSP between 1970 and 1972, that was what actually started or began the foundation of science education in Nigerian schools that we have today. The history of science education in tertiary institution actually started in 1932 with the establishment of a Yaba College, which later became a Yaba College of Technology. It is important to note here that then before we had science at being taught at primary and secondary school levels by our expatriates, that is by the missionaries who came into our country. Science education was taught at a senior secondary school or secondary school as biology, chemistry, and physics, while it is considered as a field of study in higher education. That means that in higher education, it is not just the physics, chemistry, biology that are science subjects, but all science courses. We have so many of them. That is, science education has spread into different arms, because at higher education level, the aim of the higher education or the aim of the establishment of higher education is actually for the development of higher level manpower. That is, to be able to develop manpower, to be able to develop those that will be able to apply the knowledge of science to the outside world, to be able to apply it, and be able to produce work or career. So the national policy requested that course content of science at the tertiary institution must be a professional career. That is, it must be courses or programs that will actually give individuals or students something to fall back upon as professionals. Now, then it was a broad-based and a strong scientific background that is expected at a tertiary institution. So it means that at tertiary institution, the science that are being taught there are expected to be so broad and also to be so strong, so that in that case it will be able to make those that have attended the program or those that have been trained to actually become professionals. Many tertiary institutions then had science courses being taught. In fact, in many Nigerian universities, we have so many degrees in sciences that is so many degree programs in science education, even up to the doctoral level. So you will also agree with me that science education to be taught, or for any subject to be taught at any level, that is for any individual or for individuals to be trained right from the elementary or preschool level up to the higher institution level, teachers are very vital. And because education is important in the development of any nation, most especially our country as a developing country, we will agree that teachers are very important at all levels of education for sustainable development of this country. So to this end, the federal government needs to establish institutions that will train teachers for the need of the nation. So the national policy on education stipulates the program for Nigerian teacher education to produce well-qualified professional teachers that will teach science. It was actually that is the national policy on education actually try to stipulate it like a document that says that yes, there is need for the establishment of a teacher education, Nigerian teacher education, which is actually to train professional teachers, that is to train teachers that will be able to teach science. Now, in view of this, we had different institutions that were established for the purpose of training teachers, that is for the purpose of training teachers for science and even for other subjects in the country. We have such institutions like colleges of education, faculties and institutes of education in the universities. We have school of education in polytechnics. Then we have National Teachers Institute. We also have National Mathematics Center. Now, here in these institutions, it is possible to have to train teachers to be able to teach sciences, that is to be able to teach science subjects. And you will agree with me that just like we have our faculty of education there, it is not in all departments that they teach science. That is why we say that and other subjects. Train teachers to be able to teach science and other subjects. But when we talk about the Department of Science Education, it is basically to train teachers that will go out there, that will be produced to be able to teach science. Some courses, that is some science courses that are available in higher institutions include, you have computer science, you have biology, you have integrated science, you have information and communication technology, we have physics, we have industrial chemistry, we have chemistry, we have microbiology, we have biochemistry, we have human kinetics, we have earth sciences, we have agricultural science, a whole lot of them. You will agree with me that with this, not just three, but not just three like we have in a secondary school. Now let's look at a history of biology education. Just like you were taught in the case of a science education, biology, you are aware that biology is the study of life. It is actually the study of many varieties of life. It is also referred to as a natural science that is concerned with the study of living organisms and their structures. Biology studies living organisms with their structures, that is how they are, their forms, how they function, how they grow, their distribution, their taxonomy. Taxonomy simply means classification. The heredity, that is the genetics. You see, you talk about the genetics, how characters are being transferred from one individual to the other among living organisms. You look at evolution, that is how one organisms evolve from another. Then when you now talk about this, then we talk about what we mean by biology education. Biology education is simply the teaching and learning of biology. It is education of biology. It actually includes application of principles of education in teaching and learning biology. It's the heart of teaching and training in order to inculcate the knowledge of biology. That is, it is the act of training. It is the act of applying teaching and learning, or the science of teaching, so that learning will take place in respect of a biology, which is the study of life. Now, biology education actually developed primarily alongside the introduction of science. That is, just as science was introduced by the Christian missionaries, then the biology education was also introduced alongside with it. It's developed with biology education developed with the first rudiments of science that is being taught in the mid-90s. When it was taught then, you remember that it was taught, and as it was taught, you have the rudiment of biology education that was introduced alongside with the sciences. For example, then I told you that the rudiments of science that was introduced was nature study, and nature study was all about observation of the environment, about learning about plants, about animals, which are topics of consideration in biology education. Now, gradually, it evolved to include dedicated biology courses at higher level. By the mid 20th century, we now begin to have in-depth study of biology with laboratory work. That is, we now have laboratory activities, we have laboratory works, and so there was need to learn more about life other than what was being learned then. So that is what I mean by in-depth study of biology. And also there was introduction or establishment of school that we refer to as higher school certificate, HSC. Higher school certificate is actually 2 years after secondary school. It is, I don't know, for most of you that know it, it is similar to what we refer to as foundation now. Then it was 2 years. When a student attend the place, it will be attend the higher education, higher school certificate. The person will write an exam, and that final exam, it will take the person to 200 level of the universities. So the content of biology that is being given to them was more complex than what we have in ordinary school certificates. So to be able to certify teachers that will be able to teach this, they had to include more complex, more dedicated, detailed biology courses into higher level, so that they will have enough knowledge. Those that will teach the HSC will have enough knowledge to be able to teach them. And this happened in the middle of the 20th century. With the introduction of a science teacher education, we have Science Teachers Association in Nigeria. So with the introduction of Science Teachers Association has been in existence since. So when it was introduced then, there was a development of a standardized curriculum for biology education. So when the Science Teachers Association of Nigeria was established, then it was considered that there is great need for the development of standardized curriculum. That is a curriculum that is standard, and that can fit in to our environment. Because the biology curriculum that we had then was a curriculum in which those that were teaching us then, because they were foreigners, most of the materials they used were foreign, even including the textbooks. So most of the examples that were given to us were examples that are not available in our immediate environment. So there was a need to review the curriculum and to develop a curriculum that will be standard in biology education. Now let's look at the overall trends of biology education. When we say the overall trends of biology education, that is, are the trend to which biology education follows, like you say, the step-by-step or the sequential development or movement of biology education. And like I said the other time, biology education developed alongside with science education, which was introduced into secondary school curriculum in Nigeria in 1859 by the missionaries, that is by the Christian missionaries. So when the Christian missionaries established secondary schools in 1859, they introduced the rudiments of science, and the schools that were established then include, that is, the first set of schools that were established then include Church Missionaries Secondary School, that is CMS Bariga, St. Gregory's College Lagos, Hope Wade Institute Calabar, and Baptist Training College Ogbomoso. Then, like I said, they had rudiment. That is, when we say rudiment, that means a few concepts of biology or few concepts of science. So the rudiments of science that was introduced then was nature study, and nature study is all about learning the environment in form of outdoor observation. That is, they carry out outdoor observation of plants and animals and their interaction in the environment. So that was what we had then as nature study, which was referred to as science subject. And then you will agree with me that this aspect is biology education aspect is aspect is foundation from this, because biology is about the study of life and nature study is mainly about the study of plants and animals. So in 1920 there was a review of nature study, because in 1920 it was realized that the knowledge of nature study alone cannot satisfy the need of our nation, cannot satisfy the need of the environment, our immediate environment. So we had the replacement of nature study with general science. That is, general science was introduced to replace nature study. So in 1950, that is after about 30 years, we had the introduction of the 3 branches of science, that is the biology, chemistry, and physics. So biology, chemistry, and physics were taught at the last 3 years. Then we normally have 5 years in secondary school. We have, and it normally referred to as form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So biology, the branches of education, biology, chemistry, physics were introduced at form 3. That is the 3rd year in secondary school. While the 1st year in secondary school, we had a general science then. So in the last 3 years, the 3 main sciences were taught to students. By the middle of 1950s, we had, a new conception about, or a new perception about science process, about the process of scientific inquiry, and this came up from the United States of America and Britain. It is when the developed countries, United States of America and Britain, they are developed countries. We, Nigeria, is a developing country, and some other, African countries. So when they do something, we wait a minute and we try to follow suit. So by the middle of 1950s, the US and Britain, they came up with new perception of the process of scientific inquiry. That is the way by which scientific inquiry could be carried out. So there was a reform in science education. This led to launching of what is referred to as Russian Sputnik in 1957. That is late 1950s. So as at that time, many curriculum projects were launched. That is, in the late 1950s, you have many curriculum projects that were launched to develop, the curriculum in sciences. That is, the curriculum in science subjects. So we had biological science curriculum study, BSCS, which was to develop or to look into biology concepts or biology curriculum. We had physical science committee, which was to look into the physical sciences like physics and chemistry. We also have Harvard project physics, which was meant for physics, and the chemical bond approach, which was meant for chemistry study. So this led to the launching of NOFID science project in 1962. So what we're saying here is that in 1950s, when we had so many curriculum projects, the curriculum projects that in science, the curriculum project that concerns biology is biological science curriculum study. And the aim of this curriculum project was to look into the curriculum, was to see and look into the new perception that the USA and Britain had as regard the process of scientific inquiry. So they had to look at biology concepts that are being taught before and see how the curriculum could have a change in the curriculum or an innovation, that is putting new ideas, including new ideas into biological science curriculum study. So this led to launching of the NOFID science project in 1962. The NOFID science project in 1962 was also after the curriculum, how the curriculum could be improved. And the emphasis of this project is to shift from expository to learner-centered method. So the main emphasis of NOFID science project was actually to see how biology and other sciences could be taught in a way that learners will be put into consideration, learners will be considered, and learners will be able to learn more. So many methods were they came up that are learner centered, that is methods of teaching biology and other science subjects that takes into consideration the learners. So the trend of reforms in science education in developed countries usually influenced that of developing countries like Nigeria. So you will agree with me that even up till now, it's the trend of reforms that we have. The moment we have a trend of reform or reform of one thing or the other in the developed countries, definitely we're going to have such reform also in Nigeria. Even that may be after they are done with their own reforms. Now, after the independence in 1960, there was curriculum innovations in science at secondary schools in Nigeria. At science, then in science and or biology in particular. That means that after after the independence, it was now realized that most parts of the curriculum that we still have most things that are foreign in nature. So it makes it difficult for or challenging for students to actually understand. Let me give you an example. For example, they used to read A for apple in the olden days, but there were no apples there. They never know what an apple is. They never know what it is. So the thought was to carry out curriculum innovations and try to integrate into the curriculum the immediate needs of the environment. Try to integrate into the curriculum examples that will fit or that will be from our immediate environment, not something that will be from outside the country, from abroad, by those that brought this subject to us, and we don't even have examples of those ones within us. So the innovations came by the efforts of the development of agencies. That is, the curriculum innovations came by the efforts of the development agencies and science associations. That is, the curriculum innovation is not just a one-man thing. It's not just one man that will do it. It's usually so many heads put together, like the Science Teachers Association, the WAEC, which is an examination body, the NERC, that is a Nigeria Education Research Council. Then we also have the CESAC, the comparative education and adaptation that I told you the other time. All of them will have to come together and see, or they came together then and see how the curriculum innovation can take place. So these ones are those that we refer to as curriculum agencies. The efforts in this direction resulted into the following curriculum projects at different periods. So after the independence, that's the development agencies and science associations that they came up with the hope of developing curriculum innovations or carrying out curriculum innovations to produce curricula or curriculum in biology that are different from the previous ones we have. This actually resulted into different science curriculum projects, and that is when we now had the Nigeria Integrated Science Project, that is normally referred to as NISP, the Nigerian Secondary School Science Project, NSSSP, the National Science Curriculum for Senior Secondary Schools. That's what we had then, and we still have some of them now. The NISP is, for Integrated Science Project. That is, we now had Integrated Science at the junior secondary school. That is when we now have the 6334. That is when we now have a situation where 6 years will be spent in secondary school, with the first year being referred to as the junior secondary school, while the last 3 years being referred to as the senior secondary school. So in the first 3 years, the general science was replaced by what we have as integrated science, and it is still what is being taught now as a basic science. So But when we now have the Nigerian secondary school science project, that one was responsible for the curriculum in biology, chemistry, physics. The same thing with national science curriculum for the senior secondary schools, NSC, SSS. Now let's look at the objectives of biology education. Why? What are the objectives of biology education? The first objective that I have here is that it provides individuals with sound knowledge of basic principles and techniques of biology. That is, it provides them with basic principles and knowledge of biology, which is very, very important. Then the next thing is to produce teachers that are knowledgeable, highly motivated, and professional that will be able to teach biology, most especially at secondary school level. Then to view biology, another objective is to enable individuals to view biology as a process of inquiry in the living world. Process of inquiry, I told you the other time when we were looking at that of science, that inquiry simply means asking questions, finding out in the living world. So to see or to feel biology as the process of inquiry in the living world and not just as an abstract. Then the next objective is to analyze the activities of living things and their environment, to be able to analyze the activities of living things and their environment. Then to inculcate positive scientific attitude and value in the society and promote disposition towards biology. So another objective is of teaching and learning biology, which we also refer to as biology education, is to inculcate into individuals positive scientific attitudes and values that the society needs, that will promote disposition towards a positive disposition towards biology, and actually to be able to apply the concepts and methods that are acquired in the new areas of study, that is in the study of biological sciences, to be able to apply them, to be able to apply all these concepts to everyday situation. Now let's look at the challenges of biology education. Biology education, even science education, was not without challenges. But let's look at challenges of biology education. The first challenge that I put here is security. Security, we are all aware that security is a challenge. In fact, it's a serious challenge to us now in Nigeria. The first one that we try to look at, that is the major challenge, is the issue of Boko Haram. The issue of Boko Haram, the issue of kidnappers are serious issues. Very, very serious issues. Now, why are they very, very serious issues? If you want to go out there to study, biology is about studying life. You want to go outside the classroom to take specimens, maybe plant specimens or animal specimens, it becomes it becomes scary. Let me put it like that. It becomes scary to move from one place to the other, especially to go to maybe places where you can get this plant samples or animal samples. The fear of this terrorist, the fear by the teachers, the fear by the students, they are, all these are security issues. Then the next challenge that we have is corruption. Corruption. Most times when they talk about corruption, we put our eyes up. We look at those in government, those in power. We say that yes, corruption everywhere. Oh, this our government. Oh, they are so corrupt. But downtrodden, that is down, we still have corruption taking place. What of the corruption taking place from the teacher, from the principal to the teacher, from the teacher to the student, that is preventing adequate teaching and learning of biology? When they are giving money to carry out something, they don't utilize the money very well. In fact, you have a situation where some teachers may even charge their students because they wanted to teach them aside what they have been given. So aside what they have been given, or aside what they will be paid, aside their payment. So corruption is a serious challenge too. Another challenge of biology education is lack of qualified teachers. We don't have enough qualified teachers. I think I said it sometimes. Teachers that are to teach science are supposed to be trained on how to do so. There's a difference between content, which is biology, and biology education. Content, biology education is content and the pedagogy. So the qualified teachers that will teach biology or that are relevant in biology education must have the two. For example, somebody or an individual that has read biology education is much qualified. In fact, not even much qualified, is the qualified person to teach biology at secondary school level, to teach biology at any level, because the person has the content and also has the method. The person is more qualified than those that has gone to university to read single honor biological science. Now, we also have another challenge, which is lack of proper curriculum development. Because of the fund involved in the development curriculum, it makes the development of curriculum to take a longer time before innovations take place or change takes place. Now, the curriculum that is being used in secondary school now is the curriculum that has been there. I think the curriculum we are using now, it was the curriculum agencies and the curriculum agents came up with this present curriculum. I think that should be in 2009. And actually, a curriculum is not supposed to spend more than 10 years. That is 10 years at most, because there's supposed to be innovations for new things to be incorporated into the curriculum for students or individuals to be able to learn more. And that is why if you look at the recent occurrence, like for example in 2020, 2019, 2020, we had COVID-19. So the new curriculum we should have had another curriculum which ought to have included the topics on COVID-19. We ought to have thought of where do we include it. Is it on hygiene? Is it on prevention? Is it on whatever? Because COVID-19, the knowledge of COVID-19 is more biological. COVID-19 is a virus. And a viral organism is always very difficult to control. So another challenge is inadequate fund. Definitely, when there is inadequate fund in education, there's an inadequate fund in science education. Definitely, there will be inadequate fund in biology education, because we mentioned it earlier that in science education, one major challenge that we have in science education is inadequate fund. I don't know, like I said the other time, what we have in the budget presently for this year for education. It is out of what the budget that has been earmarked for education, that will be earmarked, that part will be taken out for science, and it is from this that has been taken out for science that will be taken out for biology education. You agree with me that science subjects for science education, certain things, science education involves practicals, and so laboratory equipment supposed to be present. So we're supposed to have enough laboratory equipment, to have enough science infrastructures. We're supposed to have all these words for adequate and efficient teaching of science subjects. So for adequate and efficient teaching of biology, there's need for adequate fund. But this is not provided, and that is why we have inadequate funding or fund being a challenge. I pray that one day Nigeria is going to overcome all this. Thank you.